The Odyssey by Homer. Book 2. Telemachus prepares for his voyage. Telemachus summons all the Aeacians to an assembly. Aegyptus speaks first. Telemachus complains about the suitors and threatens them. Antinous replies, blaming Penelope, describing how she has deceived the suitors, and issuing an ultimatum to Telemachus. Telemachus says he will never send his mother away. Zeus sends 2 eagles as an omen. Hellestheres prophesies trouble for the suitors. Eurymachus replies with a threat and an ultimatum. Telemachus announces his intention of making a sea voyage. Telemachus prays to Athena, who reappears as mentor and gives instructions for the trip. The suitors mock Telemachus. Telemachus tells Euryclea to prepare supplies for the voyage. Athena organizes a ship and a crew for Telemachus and puts the suitors to sleep. Telemachus and the crew collect the supplies, load them on board, and sail away from Ithaca. As soon as rose-fingered early dawn appeared, Odysseus's dear son jumped out of bed and dressed. He laced up lovely sandals on his shining feet and carried a sharp sword hanging from his shoulders. Then he left his room, his face resembling a god's. At once, he asked the loud-voiced heralds to summon all the long-haired Aeacians to an assembly. They issued the call, and the Aeacians answered, gathering quickly. When the assembly had convened, Telemachus moved directly to the meeting, gripping a bronze-tipped spear. He was not by himself. 2 swift-footed hunting dogs accompanied him. Athena cast down over him a godlike poise. All the people were astonished at his presence, as he entered and sat down in his father's chair, while the senior men gave way. Among those present, heroic Aegyptus was the first to speak. An old man stooped with age, but infinitely wise. His son, warrior Antiphus, had sailed to Troy, that horse-rich city, along with Lord Odysseus in their hollow ships. But in his cave the Cyclops, after killing him, had made him his final meal. Aegyptus had 3 other sons. One of them, Eurynomus, was with the suitors. The other 2 were always working in their father's fields. But still Aegyptus could not forget the son who died, and now, still racked with grief and mourning, he shed tears as he addressed them. You men of Ithaca, pay attention to what I have to say. We have not held a general meeting or assembly since the day Odysseus sailed from here in his hollow ships. What man has made us gather now? What's his reason? Is he a younger or a senior man? He has heard some news about the army and will give us details of the journey home, now that he has heard the news himself? Or is it some other public business he will bring up and talk to us about? He has my blessing. I pray that Zeus fulfills whatever he has in his heart and makes his wishes work out for the best. Aegyptus spoke. Odysseus's dear son rejoiced at such auspicious words, but he did not sit long, for he was very keen to speak. He stood up in the midst of the assembly, and Peisenor, a herald who could offer shrewd advice, handed him the scepter. Then Telemachus began to speak, talking to Aegyptus first of all. Old man, the one who called the people to this meeting is not far off, as you will quickly learn. I did, for I'm a man who suffers more than other men. But I have no reports of our returning army, no details I've just heard myself to pass on to you, nor is there any other public business I will mention or discuss. The issue now is my own need, for on my household here, troubles have fallen in a double sense. First, my noble fathers perished, the man who was once your king and my kind father. And there's an even greater problem, which will quickly and completely shatter this entire house, and my whole livelihood will be destroyed. These suitors, the dear sons of those men here with most nobility, are pestering my mother against her will. They don't want to journey to her father, Icarius, in his home. where he himself could arrange a bride price for his daughter and give her to the man he feels he likes, the one who pleases him the most. Instead, they hang around our house day after day, butchering oxen, well-fed goats, and sheep. They keep on feasting, drinking gleaming wine without restraint, and they consume so much. There's no man to guard our home from ruin, as Odysseus did before. I cannot act the way he used to and avert disaster. If I tried, I would be hopeless, a man who has not learned what courage is. And yet, if I had power, I would defend myself, because we can't endure what's happening. My home is being demolished in a way that is not right. You men should be ashamed. You should honor other men, your neighbors who live close by, and you should be afraid of anger from the gods, in case their rage at your impiety turns them against you. I beg you by Olympian Zeus and Themis, who summons and disperses men's assemblies, restrain yourselves, my friends. Leave me alone to suffer my own bitter grief. Unless Odysseus, my noble father, for spite, has hurt well-armed Asians. And so now, in recompense for this, you angry gods are harming me by urging these men on. For me, it would be better if you gods ate up my landed property and flocks. If gods were the ones feasting here, then soon there might be compensation. All the time they were doing that, we'd walk up and down throughout the city, asking for our goods to be returned, until the day each piece was given back. But now you load my heart with pain beyond all hope. Telemachus spoke. Then, in his anger, threw the scepter on the ground and burst out crying. Everyone there pitied him. So all the other men kept silent, unwilling to give an angry answer to Telemachus. Antinous was the only one to speak. He said, Telemachus, you boaster, your spirit is too unrestrained. How you carry on trying to shame us, since you so desire the blame should rest on us. But in your case, Asian suitors aren't the guilty ones. Your own dear mother is, who understands how to use deceit. It's been 3 years now, and soon it will be 4, since she began to deceive the hearts of our Asian chests. She gives hope to each of us, makes promises to everyone, and sends out messages. But her intent is different. In her mind, she has thought up another stratagem. She has a large loom set up in her rooms and started weaving something very big with thread that was quite thin. She said to us, Young men, those of you who are my suitors, since Odysseus is dead, you must wait, although you are all keen for me to marry, till I complete this cloak. For if I don't, my weaving would be wasted and in vain. It is a shroud for warrior Laertes, for the day a lethal fate will strike him. Then none of the Asian women here will be annoyed with me, because a man who acquired so many rich possessions would lie without a shroud. That's what she said. And our hearts agreed. And so each day she wove at her great loom, but every night she set up torches and pulled the work apart. 3 years she fooled Asians with this trick. They trusted her. But as the seasons passed, the 4th year came. Then one of her women who knew all the details spoke about them, and we caught her undoing her lovely work. So we forced her to complete the cloak against her will. The suitors now say this, so you, deep in your heart, will understand, and all Asians know. Send your mother back. Tell her she must marry whichever man her father tells her and who pleases her. But if she keeps on doing this for long, teasing Asia's sons because in her heart she knows that she's been given by Athena, more than any other woman, a skill in making lovely things, a noble heart, and cunning of a sort we never heard of in any fair-haired woman of Asia, even the ones who lived so long ago, like Tyro, Alcmene, and Mycene, the woman who wore the lovely headband. Not one of them had shrewdness which could match Penelope's. In one thing at least, her scheme did not go well. Your livelihood and your possessions will keep vanishing as long as in her mind she follows plans the gods have now put in her heart. And so, while she is gaining a fine reputation, you're sad about so much lost sustenance. But we are not returning to our lands or someplace else, not until she marries an Asian man of her own choosing. Prudent Telemachus then answered him and said, Antinous, there is no way I will dismiss out of this house against her will the one who bore and nursed me. As for my father, he's in a distant land, alive or dead. It would be hard for me to compensate Icarius with a suitable amount, as I would have to do if I sent her back. If I did not pay him, then her father would treat me badly, and some deity would send other troubles, since my mother, as she left this house, would call upon the dreaded Furies. Men would blame me too. That's why I'll never issue such an order. And if your heart is angry about this, then leave my home. Go have your feasts elsewhere. Eat up your own possessions, changing homes one by one. But if you think it's better, more in your interests, that one man's goods should all be consumed without repayment, then use them up. But I will call upon immortal gods to ask if somehow Zeus will give me retribution. Then you'll die here in my home and never be avenged. Telemachus spoke. Then, from a mountain peak, far-seeing Zeus replied by sending out 2 eagles flying high up in the sky. For some time they soared like gusts of wind, with their wings spread out side by side. But when they reached the middle of the crowded meeting, suddenly they beat their wings and wheeled around, swooping down on everyone, destruction in their eyes. Then, with their talons, they attacked each other, clawing head and neck, and flew off on the right, past people's homes, across the town. They were amazed to see both birds with their own eyes. In their hearts, they were stirred up to think how everything would end. Then old warrior Halisterces, Master's son, addressed them. He surpassed all men of his own time in knowledge about birds and making prophecies of what fate had in store. With their common good in mind, he spoke up. Listen to me, men of Ithaca. Hear what I say. In what I'm going to speak, I'm talking to the suitors most of all. A mighty ruin is rolling over them, for Odysseus will not be away for long from his own friends. In my view, even now, he's nearby, planning a disastrous fate for all the suitors, and he'll be a scourge to many others in sun-filled Ithaca. Long before that, we should be considering how to stop this, or rather, these suitors should end it by themselves. That would achieve what's best for them and do so right away, for I am not unskilled in prophecy. I understand things well. To Odysseus, I say that everything is turning out just as I told him. Back when Aeacians with resourceful Odysseus in their ranks were sailing off to Troy, I prophesied he'd suffer many troubles and would lose all his shipmates before returning home in 20 years, unknown to anyone. Now everything I said is coming true. Then Eurymachus, Polybus' son, spoke out. Old man, you should go home and prophesy to your own children so that something bad does not happen to them later. In these things, I can foretell events better than you can. There are lots of birds flying here and there beneath the sunshine, and not all of them are omens of disaster. Odysseus has perished far away, and how I wish you had died there with him. For if you had, you would not utter prophecies like these or be encouraging Telemachus when he's enraged, in hopes you'll get a gift, some present he might give you for your house. But I tell you this, and it will happen. You may know many things an old man knows. So if your words deceive a younger man made him grow enraged, then, first of all, he'll be much worse off, and with these men here, he will not have the slightest power to act. And on you, old man, we'll lay a penalty that will pain your heart to pay. Your sorrow will be difficult to bear. But now here, among you all, I will myself provide Telemachus advice. He must command his mother to return home to her father. They will prepare a wedding, offering as many lovely presents as befit a well-loved daughter. Before that happens, I do not think Aeacia's sons will end their unwelcome wooing, for there's no one we're afraid of yet, not Telemachus for all his wordiness, nor do we care about a prophecy which you, old man, may spout. For it won't come to fruition, and people will despise you all the more, and his possessions will be eaten up in this shameful way. There will never be compensation given, so long as she keeps putting off Asians in this marriage. Because she's so desirable, we wait here day after day as rivals and don't seek different women, any one of whom might be suitable for us to marry. Shrewd Telemachus then said in reply, Eurymachus, all you other noble suitors, no longer will I make requests of you or speak of it, for gods and all Asians understand. Just give me a swift ship and 20 men, so I can make a journey and return to various places, to sandy Pylos, then to Sparta, to see if I can find some news about my father's voyage home. He's been gone so long, if any mortal man can tell me. Or I'll hear Zeus's voice perhaps, which commonly provides men information. If I hear my father is still living and returning home, I could hold out here for 1 more year, although it's hard for me. If I learn he's dead and gone, I'll come back to my dear native land, build him a tomb, and there perform as many funeral rites as are appropriate, and after that I will agree. She must choose a husband. Telemachus said this, then sat down. Next, Mentor, who had been noble Odysseus's companion, stood up among them. When he'd sailed off in his ships, Odysseus had made Mentor steward of his household, charging them to follow what the old man ordered and telling Mentor to keep all property secure. Keeping in mind their common good, he spoke to them. Men of Ithaca, listen now to me. Hear the things I have to say. From now on, let no king ever be considerate or kind or gentle. Let him in his heart ignore what is right, act with cruelty, and strive for evil. For nobody here, none of those whom divine Odysseus ruled, remembers him. Yet in his role as father, he was compassionate. Not that I object to these proud suitors and the violent acts which they, with their malicious minds, commit, for they are putting their own heads at risk when they use force to drain Odysseus's home of its resources and claim he won't return. But at this point, it's the other people I am angry with. You who sit in silence and don't say anything to criticize or make the suitors stop, even though their numbers are much smaller than your own. Leocritus, son of Euenor, spoke in reply. Mentor, you're making mischief now. Your wits have wandered off. What are you suggesting, urging men to stop us? It would be hard to fight against those who outnumber you. And about a feast. Even if Odysseus, king of Ithaca, were to come in person, eager in his heart to drive out of his halls those noble suitors eating up his home, his wife would not rejoice at his arrival, although she yearned for him. For if he fought against so many men, then he would meet a shameful death right here. What you've just said is quite irrelevant. So come on now. You people should disperse, each one of you returning to his home, and Telemachus, Mentor and Halitherses, comrades of his ancestral house from years ago, will speed him on his way. But still, I think he will be sitting here a long time yet, collecting his reports in Ithaca. He's never going to undertake that trip. Leocritus spoke, and the meeting soon dissolved. The men dispersed, each one going to his own home. The suitors went inside godlike Odysseus's home. Telemachus walked away along the ocean shore. There, once he'd washed his hands in gray salt water, to Athena he addressed this prayer. Oh, hear me, you who yesterday visited my home as a god and ordered me to set off in a swift ship across the murky seas to learn about my father's voyage back after being away so long. All this Asians are preventing, most of all the suitors with their evil arrogance. As he said this prayer, Athena appeared to him, looking and sounding just like Mentor. She spoke out. Her words had wings. Telemachus, in future days, you will not be worthless or a stupid man. If you have in you now something of your father's noble spirit, he's the sort of man who, in word and deed, saw things to their conclusion. So, for you, this trip will not be in vain or pointless. If you're not sprung from Penelope and him, then I have no hope that you'll accomplish what you desire to do. It's true, few men are like their fathers. Most of them are worse. Only very few of them are better. But in future, you'll not be unworthy or a fool. for you do not completely lack Odysseus's wisdom. So there is hope you will fulfill your mission. Set aside what idiotic suitors have advised. They lack all judgment, all sense of justice, for they do not think of death, the dark fate encircling them, when in a single day they will all perish. You must not delay that trip you wish to make. I am a friend of your ancestral home, so much so that I will furnish a fast ship for you and come in person with you. Now you must go home, mingle with the suitors, collect provisions, and put everything in some containers, wine in jars and barley, which strengthens men, in thick leather sacks. I'll go through the town and quickly round up a group of comrades, all volunteers. In Seagirt, Ithaca, I'll choose from the many ships, new and old, the finest one for you, and when that ship has been made ready and is fit to sail, we'll launch it out into the wine-dark sea. Athena, Zeus's daughter, ended her advice. Telemachus did not remain there very long. Once he had heard what the goddess said, he set off towards his home, a weight upon his heart, and there he found the arrogant suitors in the palace, all throughout the courtyard, skinning goats and singeing pigs. Antinous came up laughing at Telemachus. He grabbed his hand and spoke to him. Telemachus, you're such a braggart, an untamed spirit. You should never allow that heart of yours to harbor any further nasty words or actions. I think you should eat and drink just as you did before. Asians here will certainly see to it you acquire all the things you need. Some hand-picked oarsmen and a ship so you can quickly travel to sacred Pylos in search of some report about your noble father. Prudent Telemachus then answered him and said, Antinous, it's quite impossible for me to eat and stay quiet in your high-handed group or enjoy myself with my mind at ease. It is not sufficient that in days past, while I was so much younger, you suitors consumed so much of my fine property. But now that I've grown up and teach myself by listening to others, and my spirit gets stronger here inside me, I will try to counteract the wicked fate you bring, either by going to Pylos or else here in this community. For I will set out, and the voyage which I have talked about will not be useless, even though I sail as a passenger and not the master of the ship or oarsman. It seems to me you think this will benefit the suitors. Telemachus spoke and casually pulled his hand away from Antinous' grasp. Meanwhile, the suitors, preoccupied with feasting in the house, mocked him and kept up their abusive insults. One of them, some haughty, over-proud young man, would speak like this. It seems Telemachus really does intend to murder us. He'll bring men to help him back from sandy Pylos or from Sparta. That's how fearsome his resolution is. Or else he wants to head off to Ephyre, that rich land, so he can bring back from there some lethal medicines and then mix them into the wine bowl and thus destroy us all. And after that, another proud young man would say, who knows whether he might destroy himself once he sets off in his hollow ship, roaming far away from friends just like Odysseus. If so, he'll provide still more work for us. We'll have to split up everything he owns and hand the palace over to his mother and the man she marries. That's how the suitors talked. But Telemachus just walked away, going down to the high-roofed chamber which stored his father's wealth, a wide and spacious place, bronze and gold in stacks, and clothing packed in chests and stores of fragrant oil. Huge jars of old sweet wine stood there. Each one contained drink fit for gods, none of it yet mixed with water, arranged in rows along the wall in case Odysseus, after so many hardships, ever reached his home. The close-fitting double doors were securely closed, and day and night a female steward guarded it, protecting everything. The shrewd Euryclea, daughter of Ops, Aesnor's son, Telemachus called her into the storage room and then said, Old nurse, pour out some sweet wine into jars for me, the very best you've got after the stock you're planning to store here for Odysseus, that ill-fated man born from Zeus, in case, after evading death and fate, he shows up from somewhere. Fill 12 jars and fit them all with covers. Pour me out some barley grain in well-stitched leather sacks. Make sure there are 20 measures of ground up barley meal, but keep this knowledge to yourself. Just get all these things assembled. In the evening, once my mother goes up to her room to get some sleep, I'll come to collect them. I'm off to Sandy Pylos and to Sparta to see if I can get some information about my dear father traveling home, if there's any news I can find out. Telemachus spoke. The dear nurse Euryclea let out a cry and began to weep. Then she spoke. Her words had wings. Oh, my dear child, how did this thought gain entry to your heart? Where on this earth do you intend to roam, with you an only son and so well loved? In some distant land among strange people, Odysseus, a man born from Zeus, has died. And as soon as you have left from here, the suitors will start their schemes to hurt you later on. How they can have you killed by trickery and then apportion out amongst themselves all your possessions. You must remain here to guard what's yours. You don't need to suffer what comes from wandering the restless sea. Shrewd Telemachus then answered her and said, Be brave, dear nurse, for I have not planned this without help from a god. But you must swear you won't mention this to my dear mother until 11 or 12 days from now, until she misses me or learns I've gone. She must not mar her lovely face with tears. Once Telemachus said this, the old woman swore a mighty oath by all the gods she'd tell no one. When she had sworn and the oath had been completed, she went immediately to pour wine into jars and fill the well-stitched leather sacks with barley meal. Telemachus went up into the dining hall, once more mingling in the company of suitors. Then Goddess Athena, with the glittering eyes, thought of something else. Looking like Telemachus, she roamed throughout the city. To every man Athena met, she issued the same instructions, telling them to meet by the fast ship that evening. Next, she asked Noemon, fine son of Phronius, for a swift ship, and he was happy to oblige. Then the sun went down and all the roads grew dark. Athena dragged the fast ship down into the sea and stocked it with supplies. All the material well-decked boats have stowed on board, and moved the ship to the harbor's outer edge. There they assembled, that group of brave companions, and the goddess filled them with new spirit in their hearts. Then Athena, goddess with the gleaming eyes, thought of one more thing. She set off, going to noble Odysseus's home. There she poured sweet drowsiness on all the suitors. She made them wander around as they were drinking, knocking wine cups from their hands. So once sweet sleep overpowered their eyes, the suitors felt an urge not to stay sitting there for any length of time, but to get themselves some rest down in the city. Then bright-eyed Athena ordered Telemachus to come outside, by the entrance to the spacious hall. In her voice and form she resembled Mentor. Telemachus, your well-armed companions are already sitting beside their oars, waiting for you to launch the expedition. Let's be off so we don't delay the trip a moment longer. With these words, Pallas Athena quickly led the way, and Telemachus followed in her footsteps. After they'd come down to the sea and had reached the ship, on the shore they came across their long-haired comrades. Telemachus spoke to them with strength and power. Come, my friends, let's gather our supplies. They've already been piled up all together in the hall. My mother knows nothing of all this, and the women of the household are in the dark as well. I've mentioned this to only one of them. After saying this, Telemachus led them away, and the group then followed. They carried everything to the well-decked ship and stowed it all in place, as Odysseus's dear son instructed them to do. Then, with Athena going on board ahead of him, Telemachus climbed in too. She sat in the stern. Telemachus sat right beside her, as the men untied the stern ropes and clambered aboard the ship, each of them moving to a place beside an oar. Bright-eyed Athena arranged a fair breeze for them, a strong west wind blowing across the wine-dark sea. Telemachus then called out to his companions to set their hands on the ship's rigging. Once they heard, they went to work, raising the mast cut out of fir, setting it in its hollow socket, securing it with forestays, and hoisting the white sail high aloft with twisted ox-hide thongs. The belly of the sail filled out with wind, and the crew were under way. As the ship slipped through the swell on its way forward, around the bow began the great song of the waves. When they had lashed the rigging on that vast black ship, they set out bowls brimful of wine and poured libations to the eternal, ageless gods, and of them all especially to Athena, Zeus's bright-eyed child. Then, all night long and well beyond the sunrise, their ship continued sailing on its journey.